Hello and welcome to Hey Look Listen. My name is Liam Sheehan, and just a little PSA before we get into this episode properly. This one was a little bit special because it's the first time ever in the history of this podcast that we managed to get a few of us in the same room. Unfortunately, Owen wasn't able to join us. He's in the far-flung land of Canada. But me, Jonathan Morrissey and Kevin O'Carroll were all situated in the same room to record this episode. And unfortunately, we're a little rinky-dink operation and we encountered some sound issues that we couldn't quite overcome. Nothing disastrous, but, you know. So I'm going to apologise at the beginning of this episode for any kind of drop in sound quality from our previous episodes. But I hope you enjoy listening to it anyway. We sure as hell enjoyed recording this one. So thank you very much, and on with the show. Guys, we're just going to dive right into this one rather than talk about what games we're playing this time, if that's okay with ye. Because, sad?
No, I am, but it's okay. I'm outvoted. It's fine. Move on.
I just think that this is more of a kind of a loosey-goosey episode that we just kind of came up with because we're all going to be in the same room. Let's do something. We're each bringing two questions to each other as a kind of fuel to the fire of interesting. Marcy's making a face. You didn't do questions,
I did. I have loads. I have too many questions. That was the face.
I want these to be video game related questions. If you start asking me real shit like, you know, why do fools fall in love, or what's that rash?
She's so pretty.
I hope these are video game related questions. So yeah, we each gonna like ask each other these like almost like interview questions, and then we're gonna get some fucking meaningful just video game discussions because I don't feel qualified to talk about anything except for video games.
Yeah, I can assure you you're not.
I'm not qualified. No.
What about Syria? You were talking a lot about cereal. Syria. Oh, I think you said Syria earlier.
I like Rice Krispies.
No, that's why I was confused.
Actually, I love Cocoa Pops. No, sorry. We're getting off the track here. I actually have one to begin with, if you don't mind. Because I think this question as well is, you know, it's a good beginning one because the question is about our formative years. Kev, I'm going to ask you first. I'm asking both of you. So,
shoot.
Kev, I want you to tell me, like, do you have an earliest gaming memory? Or do you have, like, not even if it's the earliest, something that's formative to your childhood related to video games?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, there's like... I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast before, but it is like an Inside Out style core memory, just locked in, of going to visit my grandfather who was sick in hospital in Cork, and driving back from Cork to Limerick at like 9 in the night, and like to shut me up and keep me happy. My parents had bought me Earthworm Jim for the Mega Drive, and like I just remember that hours-long car drive back up from Cork, sitting there and just reading and rereading the manual from the Earthworm Jim game. And like the road from Limerick to Cork at the time was like a back road. You go through all these different towns. So there'd be long stretches with no light. So I'd just be sitting there holding the book open, waiting for the next time we pass a street light, just so I could see a new page. That I don't know if it's my earliest memory. I know the Mega Drive was my first console.
Ditto.
And off the top of my head, I don't know when Earthworm Jim came out.
I'm going to say 1993. I think it was late for a Mega Drive game because that game looked good for a pixel game. A 16-bit game that looked good.
You were young, Kev. You're bad. You're baby.
Yeah, I would have been. I would have been probably 5 or something maybe, but yeah. Yeah, it's just stuck, lodged in there.
And is it warm and fuzzy?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, grandfather died, but Earthworm Jim was pretty good, so it swings around about you.
That's life, isn't it? Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought the grandfather would have pulled through.
No, he died years later. It's fine.
30 years ago. Wow. I was hoping Kev would talk more so I could think of one.
You just like a cowboy. You just came in here, no questions, nothing ready.
Look, yeah. And a lot of people don't know this, but me and Liam do actually live together. We've lived together for almost 10 years, but we've never done a podcast together because of the smell. But mine is, it's not really formative, to be honest. It's just the earliest, to be very truthful. A lot of the video games that I got when I was younger, like between the ages of 0 and like 10, were from my dad. My dad was like, he was a fireman, and like there's a couple of firefighters there in the station who would bring in consoles, put them on the TV so they could all play them. And then when they got bored of them, he'd bring them home to me. So I've talked about it in the podcast before. He once brought home like Metal Gear Solid 2. So it'd been like a week, lost my shit. He thought he brought back Metal Gear Solid 1, but it was actually the Metal Gear Solid 1 soundtrack, which was that's a pain I've never really experienced since. But the first thing he ever brought back was the Commodore 64, which is like
Before your time.
wow.
That's before your time.
and it was well after its time when I got it. Like it was, he basically brought it in, I think it's a Hulk of a yoke, and he had a suitcase of games, and so it was like maybe 20 to 30 just open cassettes literally in a suitcase. And the reason that wasn't formative was, I don't know, I doubt any of our listeners have ever played the Commodore 64, but if you have, you know what I'm going to say. Basically, what you do is, the game that comes to mind is The Great Escape, based on the movie. Don't know who makes
There
it.
was so many shite fucking
there was a
movie
bunch.
tie-ins in the 80s, 70s,
Absolutely,
80s.
like Terminator, RoboCop. There was so many.
The
But
famous ET one.
oh yeah, exactly.
Destroyed
Yeah,
the industry.
yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
like
Buried in the desert somewhere.
Mhm.
But with the Commodore 64, you would put the tape in, and you had to wait for the tape to load, which could take 15 minutes, like 15 full minutes of it, just kind of like, and you had to wind it back like a VHS almost, and then it would loop around, right? What age was I? This was maybe, I'm not sure, I was like maybe 9 or 10. So still years past, like when the Commodore 64 was out. And I put up The Great Escape. I didn't know what that was. My dad was like, "Oh, Steve McQueen." I'm like, no idea who he is. Is he that director?
God, it's been
Thank
so
you for
long
that.
since I've seen it. I forgot Steve McQueen was in it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
But yeah, that would be like kind of my earliest memory. And then the reason the Commodore 64 sucked a lot was that you couldn't really play for maybe more than an hour.
Why?
It overheated. So you'd have to basically, this might have just been my Commodore 64 experience, maybe. But yeah, that's like my earliest.
I was born in '89, so this is even before my time. But 1985, with the release of the NES and Super Mario Brothers, I always think is the beginning of games. For me, is when I said, if I look at it, and everything before that is like academic to me. So whenever you hear someone talk about the Commodore 64, I'm like, wow, that sounds bizarre. You know what I mean? I'm so kind of, I've never touched one. Have you played one, Kev?
No, never.
Yeah. That's you still have that.
We still have the keyboard. So like it was, I think the version we had, because two different versions. One was like, it was like the console and the keyboard. But we had the version where it was a keyboard that you plugged it into the console and then into the TV. Perhaps happy memories?
Question mark?
Yeah, question mark. Yeah,
That's very Irish of you, isn't it?
it is. Yeah,
You don't have like, was my childhood happy?
that's
like,
yeah,
it's relatively happy, but it was during the Troubles.
yeah.
We didn't know that. We didn't know.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of it. I don't know, is that because I blocked it out or
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I was enjoying video games right up to the point when the North invaded the South. And then I got drafted into the Great War. We didn't discuss this, but should I answer my own question or should we move on?
I think you should, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should. Yeah.
My memory that I want to talk about is not a memory.
Well, if they haven't switched off yet, that's it.
I don't have access to it, but I can see it because it's a photograph. But I don't have access because it's a photograph.
Okay.
There's a photograph of me that exists marked 1991, so I would have been 2. And I'm in my pajama. Actually, I'm in a dressing gown and pajamas, so not much has changed. And I'm out in my kitchen because back when we were young, our video game consoles was just the smallest TV in the house in the corner of the kitchen. It was just like, it was just
We all had that.
stuck
Yeah.
in there,
The Scar TV. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm playing the Sega Mega Drive, and I'm playing Altered Beast,
Ooh.
and I'm holding the controller incorrectly. So I don't know how I could move the character and press the buttons at the same time. And I had headphones in because the Mega Drive had a headphone jack.
Oh, did it?
Really?
Only the
I
first,
never knew that.
only the first edition of the Mega. So I'm not being superior, but you might have had it. Did your Mega Drive have red buttons on it?
No.
Okay. Well, there's versions of the Mega Drive that were released after that didn't have it, but the one we had it, and that's like, you have like the first generation of Mega Drives or Genesis or whatever. So yeah, so I had headphones hooked in, and I'm playing Altered Beast, holding the controller.
Did you do it just for the photo? Maybe is that why you're holding it wrong? Just like you knew it was like.
No, I think
photo
it was I can't think of the word. What's the word when you don't know you're being taken a photograph of?
Oh,
Candid.
Yeah.
Were you playing with your brother, or you
No,
just...
it's just me.
No?
Just me playing some Altered Beast. If anyone doesn't know what Altered Beast is, it's a very, very difficult, not very good probably, but I love it, game where you collect orbs. You're a Greek man and you collect orbs, and when you collect one orb you become really buff, and then when you collect another one you turn into a monster, and it's a different monster for each level.
Like your life.
And there's only we're all collecting orbs and turning into monsters in a way. But lads, enough wallowing in the past. I don't think you have questions.
I thought of one halfway through there.
Then if you take it away.
Okay.
Perfect. You're up.
Yeah. Do you think and this feels like I'm cramming for an exam or something. But do you think games have gotten better or worse since you were younger? And I mean, like, to try and like detach the nostalgia from it, or maybe no, don't actually keep it in. Like, do you enjoy games more or less? And then do you also think games have gotten better or worse since you were a young bab? Since we're in gym.
Yeah, easy, better, no question, no doubt about it. And on one hand, I played Gex, and on the other hand, I played The Last of Us Part 2, and I feel I can pretty confidently say
Yeah.
that there's not much of a difference, but one is better than the other.
Well, then let me rephrase it slightly. Then, what about your enjoyment of video games?
That's a more complicated question.
You're always going to enjoy something more. No matter how much of a gaming fan you are, you're going to enjoy something more when you're a little child, aren't you? It's wonderful. It's new. It's fresh. It's exciting.
We've all probably had that experience of going back to a game that you loved as a kid, playing it again, and going, not only is this shit, I cannot comprehend how I saw this ever as anything other than shit.
Sonic Adventure.
Sonic Adventure, great example.
I on the other side of that coin, I said, I also think maybe when you're an adult, your hobbies are more important to you. So the things that you enjoy, because life is grey and shit, the things that make you happy shine brighter. And the kid, everything makes you happy. Unless I know, that comes from the most like.
No, that's a great point, though.
Pleasant childhood. Or just people at home going, I had a really bad childhood.
Yeah. Well, don't listen. We don't want to listen.
We don't want to hear it.
No, give yourself. That's a good point, though, because I would feel that. No, I probably did enjoy games more as younger, but now I'm able to understand why I enjoy them more, and like it stays with me longer. It's not like a quick dopamine hit when I was a kid playing something and it's like really, N64 is really cool, GoldenEye, oh wow, it's awesome. Now it's more like a game will stick with me for a much longer period of time. It's not just nostalgia making it that way, it's because it's a really, really great game and I really enjoyed it. You know?
But do you kind of like we have a podcast and we talk about video games, so we don't work in the industry or anything like that, but we can analyze them. That's why we're able to talk about them for an hour. Do you sometimes wish? Do you look back at the days when you couldn't look at things analytically and just enjoy them at face value? The moment you're kind of like, I see why they're doing that. I see why that's designed. Can be fun, but I'm also kind of like, I wish I couldn't see the nuts and bolts under the hood. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think it's like knowing how the sausage is made type thing. I think it kind of feeds back into what Marcy was just saying there, that maybe there's a distinction between enjoyment and appreciation. As a kid, you can enjoy the games because you're just having fun, pressing the button, making the little plumber jump. But then later in life, you can play that same game and appreciate like the beauty of the game design of like Super Mario 1-1. And they're different things, but they're kind of equally valid.
I think that's true. Yeah,
because there's certain games I've played recently, Deus Ex and Human Revolution, where I actually enjoyed watching the 3-hour video essay on YouTube more than actually experiencing the game.
That's it. Yeah,
and understanding why it's a flawed game, why it is the way it is. You know what I mean?
Those video essays are a kind of a slippery slope. I came across one about a movie with Stephen Yeun in it, and it was like, why Stephen Yeun's performance in this movie was so good, and I was like, I'm going to watch this. Because video essays are so like, and after 5 minutes I turned it off and went, I'm going to watch the fucking movie. I keep watching video essays. Why don't I just watch the movie? And it was a great movie. It's called Burning. Hey, we talk about video games here. Watch the Korean movie called Burning, everyone. It's brilliant. It'll stay with you. It's based on a Murakami novel. Anyway.
Yeah. Or just play the inevitable Ubisoft adaptation. Stephen Yeun just climbing towers to reveal more of his math.
I think that covered it. We can move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're being that,
this is the loosey-goosey.
That wasn't loosey-goosey. Oh, that was very line in the sand.
No, this is loosey-goosey.
There's no rules. Kev has to have a question. Do you think Kev has a question? What do you think?
Can I just say before we get to Kev that you not having anything ready and like coming up with like and feeding into a really interesting discussion is just prime Marcy.
Is it?
From what I've known of you, just flying with the seat of your pants and just succeeding.
Pen running all over my head.
Kev, what you got?
Yeah, so I was thinking about questions before coming in here, and admittedly not very hard and not for long.
Way to make me feel like a dick. Go on.
But I was thinking, and it's something that you and I have spoken about before, Liam, is the idea of divisive games.
Yeah.
I don't mean ones that are like controversial. God knows there's enough of those going around at the moment. But I mean, a game comes out and you see the reviews, and on Metacritic it has like a 79. And the reason it has a 79 is because like half the reviews are 10s and half the reviews are 4s. You know, a game where there's something in it that just really fucking works for people and something that really doesn't. And I was thinking of it because of Marvel's Midnight Suns, a game that I have picked up but haven't started yet, but I've got very mixed feedback on from people who have played it. So I'm curious, are there any games that kind of come to mind for you guys that are super divisive, that kind of really split the player base a lot? For example, like I spoke about my love for Final Fantasy 15
Yeah,
on
that's
this
a good
podcast
one.
before.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a game that people quite rightly fucking hate. I love it. But I'm wondering, do you guys have any examples or anything?
I have a couple. I have ones that are in big franchises, but are like very divisive. With like, they're still
Wind Waker.
Huh?
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. No, Wind Waker is almost universally beloved now. It's a good. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
At the time, maybe.
I don't know if this suits your question because the game it came to my mind wasn't only divisive. I think it was almost universally fucking despised by the fan base, and I don't think it's a masterpiece or anything like that. I don't love it, and I think if I was on a bigger forum and I said this, I think people would throw tomatoes at me. I liked DMC, the Devil May Cry reboot that came out in the 2010s. It was handy.
Yeah.
It wasn't made by Capcom. It was made by Ninja Theory, the guys who went on to make Senua Sacrifice, and what did they make? Enslaved Odyssey to the West. And they're a cool company. Yeah, and Hellblade, remember that? No, what's the one? Heavenly Sword. Remember that? It was a PS3 launch title. Anyway, and I've always liked that studio. Their main thing is like they're on the forefront of mocap. They always have Andy Serkis and their stuff.
Yeah,
and I've always been gunning for them because they don't like until Hellblade, Senua Sacrifice, they didn't really have a big hit on their hands, and I just felt so sorry for them because they rebooted Devil May Cry and it was a Western take on it, and it was kind of edgy and kind of, he had kind of an emo haircut, and people just fucking hated it. And I don't think it's better than any of the other Devil May Cry games I've played, but I liked it. I thought there was some interesting kind of like even just visual stuff. There's a bit where you're going to go on a mission, and it's cutting to the cutscene of the characters planning the mission. And as you're playing, the kind of waypoints are the chalkboard that your team is talking about, and the chalkboard is kind of combining with the level, and you follow that. Just stuff like that. It had so many interesting ideas that I hate that it's almost universally despised. Because Devil May Cry, I like Devil May Cry. I love the first one and the third one on the PS2. I think they're class, but they're kind of cringy and kind of like people vibe with what they are because it's kind of embarrassing anime melodrama with cool fighting and stuff like that. But it's always kind of like Devil May Cry wasn't this sacred text that couldn't be touched. And I just felt like that one was panned too much and divisive, to say the least. And I always liked it. I don't love it. It's 7 out of 10. I love a 7 out of 10 game sometime though.
But it's kind of like it's your little thing now, though, isn't it?
It's not I wouldn't go that far even.
It sounded like it was.
We talked about it before. What I'd say what would be my thing would be Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Which is a divisive game within Silent Hill, and I haven't played that many Silent Hills, but I thought it was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant game. Super interesting.
A game that we spoke about in detail on our Silent Hill episode.
Check it out, folks, to hear me and Kev go, you can listen to voices through the Wiimote.
Yeah. And Liam will edit in the episode number here.
15. I have no idea what I said to this.
I think you're close, though.
No, I don't think so.
I'll answer it in a different way, Kevin, to make me seem... I was kind of out myself in a way. Firstly, I couldn't really think of a divisive game I played recently.
You love the mainstream popular stuff, don't you?
So kind of yes and kind of no. Because obviously I could definitely talk about controversial games. Like Last of Us 2 pops in my mind, but I know we're not talking about that. But I loved it. Didn't get all the fucking...
That's a good one, yeah.
I didn't get all the hate. Yeah. It didn't at all.
We're pro Last of Us 2 podcast, Absolutely. Which is why we haven't grown.
Yeah, that could be it actually. Yeah. But I will bring up that point that I think for the last maybe 10 years of my life, I think I've been terribly influenced by online reviews. Like I'm kind of shame me and Steph here, but like to talk about movies for a second, which I know is Liam completely forbids on the podcast. Actually, you just did it a minute ago.
I don't trust the moving pictures, man.
He's right.
That joke doesn't work.
You can't control them. But we'll be like going through Netflix or Disney, whatever, and like we'll say a movie, and then Steph or me will instantly go check it on Rotten Tomatoes first.
Yeah.
Like, is it fresh? Does it have like 80%? Only has 75. Oh, I don't know if I want to put my time to that. For the last 10 years, I've started to kind of sadly do that with games. I don't know, is that a sad thing of like getting older? So where you're kind of like, I have less time.
There's more monetary commitment as well, though. You can't.
That's
You
true.
want to be sure.
Yeah.
We're not kids anymore with our parents buying us. Like,
That's actually such
we
a
want to
good
make
point.
sure what we're spending our money on.
Like €80 for a video game is are they €80 now?
Yeah, 70, I think.
Yeah.
But just
No,
to
80 for
You're kidding me.
the PS5 exclusives or
I
whatever.
was just thinking that. Yeah.
But I remember seeing the original IGN review of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, and they gave it like, I think, a 7 or 6.5, something like that. And I was just thinking, like, if I saw that, and I probably wouldn't have played the game.
Yeah.
And Ace Attorney has become I'm a fucking simp for that franchise.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of it. That review would have influenced me if I saw it first. I remember when I played Ace Attorney back in the day, I was looking for reviews of it, and I was like, they gave it this?
Which is
First
terrible.
Ace Attorney?
But it's terrible because it's like playing a video game and enjoying it really is very subjective, like most of the time. But I've tried to figure out, like, so now, for example, we were talking about Baldur's Gate earlier. I have played the beta anyway.
Off episode, we weren't recording when we talked about it.
Oh, we weren't. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, I didn't think we were.
But it's confusing.
Yeah, Cuckoo was actually. But like for me now, I won't. I played the game. I still won't check the reviews. Like I won't now because I want to enjoy it myself. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I wish I could stop that. I wish I could. Maybe I'll try. Maybe this is it. It's a turning point in my life.
Because, like I said earlier on, like I wasn't specifically talking about reviews, just more in spirit. I love a 7 out of 10 sometimes. A game doesn't have to blow your mind and change your life. It's functionally fun. Yeah. I think the perfect game, like to describe that, is I brought up earlier on. You ever play Enslaved: Odyssey to the West? Hidden PS3 game. It's so fun.
But you wouldn't buy it full price.
Oh.
Like I think I got it for like $4.99 like a decade ago.
Yeah. Or like something like one of Nintendo's non kind of main franchises. Like I love a Luigi's Mansion game. I don't think they're masterpieces, but they're fun. Oh, you don't like Luigi's Mansion?
I think they're fantastic. I think like an 8-9.
Oh, you're probably right, actually. Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. Like a 7 out of 10 game that is trying something interesting and doesn't quite work is more rewarding to me than like an 8 out of 10 game that's playing really safe but nails it.
I think I hate to be this guy, but I think a lot of Sony's PS4 exclusives were that I called them exit mediocrity in one episode or something like that. I would lump. They're great games. Spider-Man, Ghosts of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn. They're fine. They're so well made, but they don't really.
I'll call you on Ghost just because I know you haven't finished Ghost. Have you played through entire?
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is excellent.
It is a very good game.
Is it really? The reason I didn't finish it because I wasn't really finding it. I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I hate talking negatively about these games because they're far from bad. Like, I've enjoyed. Like, I got the Miles Morales game. Like, I didn't love Spider-Man, but I liked it enough to get Miles Morales, and I like those games. Yeah,
I don't.
You don't like Spider-Man? You don't like Spider-Man?
I actually think you are definitely on something there. I think the first 2 Spider-Man games that's kind of like divisive in a way where sometimes I'm like, am I just getting old or cynical, or have I played games for too long? Where I'm just like, I see a game get universal acclaim, and I'm like, I don't get it, man.
A lot of people have that for Elden Ring. I'm seeing like because it's so popular. I'm seeing a lot of like, why? Yeah, if people want to tear it down, yeah. Breath of the Wild used to get a lot of it as well. In 2017, any game that gets really big, there's always people come out going like, this isn't as good as Earthworm Jim. That was you, Kev. You said that.
It's true.
I bring this up about games as many times as possible on this podcast because it's grown over the last like 20 years to be one of my favorite things about games. Like sometimes, a lot of time, even more than the narrative, is the vibe. Just like being in a game. I've recently played a lot of Mario games, and Mario can feel like cobbled together levels sometimes, but whenever it decides to have a sense of place, it usually absolutely nails it. Mario Sunshine, Mario Odyssey has a lot of that. So I think I want to ask you, I'll start with Marcy. Do you have any like gaming location that you just love?
Tamriel.
You just like being in that whole entire world, yeah?
What do you mean?
Do you have a place in Tamriel that you really like?
Oh, yeah, like Whiterun, which is like one of the first kind of main towns you see.
Oh, sorry, this is The Witcher, right?
Skyrim.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to come across so offended.
Sorry.
Oh my
God.
Skyrim.
What's The Witcher world called?
Holland.
What is it called?
I'm putting myself in blast.
I can think of like Valen, Orchard, White Orchard. I can't think of the actual overall world now.
I'm putting myself on blast here, but isn't Skyrim set in Skyrim?
No, Skyrim is a part of wider Tamriel. The
So
Tamriel is like
you're
Elder
talking about
Scrolls.
Tamriel from all the games.
I did say Elder Scrolls, and you went with.
I did.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, fuck it.
Well, we can listen back. One of us will be right. One of us will be wrong. Whoever's wrong will leave the
It's just the
podcast.
biggest game in the world ever made. I just don't know jack shit about it. Yeah, sorry.
I wonder how much this episode we're going to keep. It's diminishing. The question, shit. It was location. So, yes, I can answer that question. So I will say, yeah. So let me say Skyrim then, and like wider Tamriel from like Oblivion and Morrowind. I think that game what it did to me was I got into, and you say a vibe, just a game that felt like I was very, very immersed in it. Like the soundtrack, the location, the characters, and the vibe of countless hours spent exploring. It became like, do you ever play a game and it's like, if it's particularly massive, it's not something you blow through in a few days, so it becomes like a habit you put in over weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, you go to school or go to work, whatever. You come home, you have your dinner, and then between the hours of like 6:30 and 9 or whatever, before watching like I'm not watching White Lotus right now, or whatever. you get your gaming in, and you go right TV show now, and then try and sleep for 8 hours. That was Skyrim was like that for like I think my first playthrough put in about 500 hours, and so that was over, and that was back when I think it came out 2011, so we'd been in university, so that was it. Come back from university, do that for hours. But the thing about that is, I don't know because you kind of referenced Mario in particular.
It's on my mind.
Yeah, and in your bum,
right up there.
No, that's it. It's that you were him. Be more Chris Pratt, isn't it? No, he's muscly. But I was chasing that high for a long time, which is not sounding like a weird thing to say, but it's true. I was chasing like the high of that vibe of like when I booted up Skyrim, and then like I don't think nothing was like going bad in my life at the time. We're not the type of podcast, but like it was definitely it's a very comforting game to play. Like it became a game that was in no way ever challenging. And I still boot it up every now and then. If I get a new console or any new device, I check see if it can play Skyrim. It usually can. But it's kind of sad. But like that's the vibe I think I still chase with a lot of games.
Are you hoping Baldur's Gate 3 this year will give you that?
Yeah, probably. You
like your big fantasy epic, do you?
I do. I like being a fantasy man.
And is it the fantasy? Is it the trappings, or is it the scale of? Could it be another kind of genre? But is it the scale of Skyrim and just how immersive the world is?
Yeah, it's immersion is the word. It's like it's kind of a game where like you. And like it's not exactly it's not the storyline. It's not every time I talk about a game I love, I end up going negative before I go positive.
Big negative Nancy.
I'm not really in real life. Maybe
I don't know about that.
Okay, there we go. Not really exposing myself. But I just love you. Like you go into like a bar or whatever, in a game or in like a location, and you open a book, as opposed to the book that you find having like a couple of sentences about a quest or story. It's like a 25-page book that I read. And I learn about some family that live in Skyrim or somewhere else, in Solvium or whatever. And I never actually go meet them or see anything. But I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I've gotten a bit of a nugget there. So I think it's just I love it. Yeah, scale is definitely there, but it's when I feel there's been some really, really good world building. I can look past a lot of the weaker storylines and the glitchiness of the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's the vibe I like.
Cool. How about you, Kev?
I think two immediately came to mind when you asked the question, and kind of two different ways. One is the vibe that's created by the fact that all my friends hang out there, and that is the Normandy from Mass Effect. It's
hell yeah.
If I could play a version of the Mass Effect game where all the missions play out as cutscenes, and all I do is walk around the Normandy and talk to people between those missions, 10 out of 10, no notes.
It doesn't it make you wonder why they haven't just nailed a Star Trek game? Just being on the Enterprise and just going to holodeck and kissing Marilyn Monroe.
I'm gonna move past that. I can hear the noise still in Mass Effect 2 where you open the map. Like that, and it's oh man.
What's good about it as well is I like the routine of it. I like doing a mission and then now I'm going to wander around my ship and check in with everyone.
Yeah, you nearly want the secretary one to not tell you if someone is looking to talk to you. It's like, I'll get to it myself. I'm going to go talk to anyone.
My fish, get off my fucking shit.
Yeah, I did not feed the fish.
Oh no. I didn't feed Jacob.
Yeah, but the other example that popped to mind then, sorry, um, was more for the sort of the atmosphere of it, and it's Firelink Shrine in the first Dark Souls, because it's after you complete the prologue bit, you get dropped in there, and it's just this like core anchor point for the entire game. Like the world map is so interconnected, everything loops back to itself, things connect back to Firelink in different ways. You'll explore for a bit, you'll find an elevator, you'll go down, and halfway down the elevator, that music starts up again, and you're like, wait a minute, I know what this is. So you keep getting brought back there throughout the game. You find NPCs out in the world, and then they'll go back to Firelink and to act as like vendors or to provide side quests and stuff. And it's sort of as your journey through Dark Souls progresses, Firelink changes as well and it adapts with you. And like I play Dark Souls about once a year at this point, and almost similarly to Mass Effect, if I could play a version of Dark Souls that was just hanging out in Firelink, that would kind of suck because Dark Souls is all about the combat. But I probably would play it anyway.
To tread into water that I understand, do you get that same feeling with the Hunter's Dream in Bloodborne?
It is good. It is definitely good. It doesn't have that same thing of the NPCs you find in the world being brought there. The Odin Temple in Bloodborne is kind of the equivalent, which is kind of cool. But it doesn't quite hook me in the same way that Firelink does. I think a lot of it, 90% of it, is the music. The Firelink theme is reused in Dark Souls 3, and when I experienced that the first time around, I was like teared up a little bit. I was like,
Music does a lot of the heavy lifting in games, and in films and anything. Especially when the graphics are poor, how much it holds up the atmosphere. Like sometimes you look back and go, like, did I like that game or did I like its soundtrack? No, I have that. I genuinely have that with Sonic. I'm bringing up toys. Sonic Adventure. I played a bit of it earlier in the year, and I was like, "This is shit," but the tunes are so good. And I was like, I think my nostalgia for that game is only based because its gameplay is terrible. It's only based around the soundtrack.
That's incredible, though.
It's like a very 1999 vibe to it. But the game I would go for is I'm doing it someday, and I'll talk about this. I'm going to do a Monkey Island episode.
Yeah.
But I think if you ask me what the most underrated game of all time is, I would say The Curse of Monkey Island, because it's the third one, and it's in a niche genre, but even within its own franchise, people tend to look at 1 and 2 as like the kings, and 3 has always been my favorite. There's a town in it called Puerto Polo, and it is what we just the music. I replayed it last year, and what struck me about it is it's not just the music. They added in like wind. And it's on an island called Plunder Island, which is full of chickens. There's always chickens clucking, and it's just my safe space. I'm not even joking. It is so relaxing to me, and it's the main reason it's so formative. I played it when I was about 8, and when we first got to Curse of Monkey Island, it wouldn't save, and we didn't know why. I was flashed to the end of the story. We deleted it and reinstalled it, and it worked. But this was after like a year.
Oh shit!
Every time I played Curse of Monkey Island, I started from the start. So that's why I know I can almost quote like so much because it was just one thing. So Puerto Polo is the early town you go to, and I just think it's so relaxing. And the art style of Monkey Island is beautiful. It's so Curse of Monkey Island is beautiful. It's so painterly. And there was actually a point in my life as a sad adult, I had it as my desktop background, the place, because looking at it genuinely calmed me.
That's not sad.
It has one of my favorite funny recurring jokes in Monkey Island where the town is plagued by El Pollo Diablo, the devil chicken, who's this chicken who's getting revenge on the townsfolk for eating all the chickens. And I just love everything about that section of the game. And it has some of the best characters. You have to recruit a pirate crew, and they've all retired from pirating, and they've opened a hairdresser / barbershop.
Can I not ask a full question? This doesn't count as a question. More of like a. Have you played Red Dead 2?
Yeah, I haven't finished it, but I've played it.
Ed hates it.
I don't hate it. I think it's aggressively mediocre.
Oh man, no, this could be a full question. I was going to ask, what do you think about the campsite? Because
Loved it.
okay, cool. So I used to find that because unfortunately I'm going to stray more into negativity here, but I don't think Red Dead 2 is as great as people say. Kind of what you're getting to. I wouldn't say it's mediocre, but I definitely think it should be as revered as it is. because it's not fun to play.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment of mine.
But I used to love going back to the camp, man. Like I thought, like that was like some of the most impressive things about the video game. Where the more you went back, the more it felt like it was actually real, like a real living, breathing camp.
I'm telling you, the heart of that game is the characters.
Yeah, absolutely,
The little team of misfits, the little found family at the center of it, and the narrative arc is the slow deterioration of that little found family into turning niceness into bile. It's great. It's not a good video game, but it's a great story.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's not the gameplay. It's not the horse balls. It's not any of that. It's definitely that. Yeah.
Am I remembering correctly that you can't sprint in the camp?
No, you can't. That's true.
That's dog shit.
I just, man, everything about controlling Arthur in that game was just really poor, and even the horse riding was kind of okay, I guess. But I just think, Liam, you have a go at me? Actually, no, you're not okay. You're just
It's my fucking
That's your
face.
face. Well, it looks a lot different than a HD camera. But yeah, no, maybe it could be. Maybe actually there should be an episode someday. We've never done an episode on Red Dead 2.
We did one on Rockstar Games, you, me, and Owen.
Oh, I kept thinking Max Payne was a Rockstar game. It's actually Remedy. Yeah.
So funny. That was the only time someone made a meme about our podcast. Who's next?
I'll go next. So, video games, one of the reasons we love them is because they can be or do anything. They can be like Last of Us Part 2, where there's this big, involved narrative, very emotive, or they can be something like The Witness, where you're just throwing yourselves at puzzles over and over again. It can be Pong, or it can be Call of Duty. They can do lots of different things. And lots of different genres, like sci-fi is represented really well. Fantasy is represented really well. Like action-adventure is represented really well. Where's the sexy games at?
I wasn't expecting this.
Elaborate. You have to elaborate.
Yep, I'm gonna give you a pearl of wisdom. Every game is a sexy game if you have the right attitude.
There are tons of horny games.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Where are the sexy games?
Okay, what's the distinction?
Distinction, like you go on Steam, you open up the Steam homepage, and it's just cat girls.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and anime mods. Like those are horny games.
That's just Liam's library. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the screen right now.
So you're asking where's the more mature, titillating, sexy game?
But no, I'm using sexy kind of jokingly. But I mean, like
romantic. You mean kind of like romantic stories, kind of?
Is there any example you can think of in video games of like a romantic story done well?
That's not interchangeable with the word sexy.
I know, I'm being annoying.
This dimension of this question is about to change. Now I don't have to talk about Tifa and Earth.
But again, I would include that as horny, not sexy.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, like without the characters just being these immaculately rendered beauties. I'm talking about the males. That's such. They're weeping so hot. But no, they're not. They're under 20.
Are they? Okay.
Liam is an expert.
The remake is really horny. They absolutely knew that like everyone was horny for those characters, and they're always like flirting with each other, and they're always fighting over. It's way hornier than the original.
Jessie, in particular, is
she's like a stereotype. She's like a parody. I mean, yeah. But where is a good romantic game? I like there's couples I like to bring back to Monkey Island. I've always loved Guybrush and Elaine from Monkey Island, but it's sweet, but it's not.
There's one very obvious one: Mass Effect. Mass Effect is the sexiest, horniest romantic game going.
But I would say, in Mass Effect, like there's no dramatic tension to any of the romance in Mass Effect. None of the characters are going to turn you down, really.
I do know if you romanticize Jacob as a woman, he cheats on you.
Ooh.
Yeah. That happened to Steph.
Who's he cheating?
It was someone that kind of shocked me. It shouldn't have shocked me. I think it was like Gareth or someone. I was like, oh wow.
Why didn't your girlfriend romance? Why did she romance Jacob? Why not Gareth? All the alien men. Why did she go for the man?
You can read into that question a lot. We won't do it on
the
podcast.
Fun of it.
Yeah,
you got a fucking alien.
But that's true. That's very true. I think she romanticized a lot of people. But that's a fair point. I know a game that did it really badly. The Witcher 3 did it really poorly.
That is the example of it done badly.
you've got what? You've got Yennefer and Triss, who are like the two kind of major kind of leads in it, female leads. And you kind of, there's obviously a lot of backstory between you and Yennefer. You've known her for a very long, long time. But like Geralt is like the biggest simp of all time. Like he goes from being this very kind of,
I thought they were simping for him, no?
you would think that, right? Because he's this broad, brooding. I'm just thinking of Henry Cavill now. Maybe I'm just describing him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very confident man. But the minute he meets Yennefer, he just falls to pieces. He's like, "My queen, what can I do for you?" And all this kind of nonsense.
She's a sorceress.
She's a sorceress.
I've
Exactly.
watched the show.
Yeah, and then Triss is the one who's the American accent. It's terrible, but it's really, it's where like The Witcher starts to feel like really hokey, and just like the writing is really, really poor, and it's just
and the animations for the sex scenes are ultimately cringe.
they're really, and they do have not held up, and they didn't go near them in the remaster. So like when you have sex with Yennefer on a unicorn, still looks terrible.
I feel like there's a game on the tip of my tongue, but you're right. I can't think of a truly romantic game that like feels. There's a ton of romantic movies. Do you know, it's not a romantic game, it's a tragic one, but I thought the relationship between Ellie and Dina was very realistically portrayed in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
I think that was a
That's
very
a good shout.
realistic take on a couple that wasn't just total like fucking, I don't know, sometimes you feel like gaming writers can be just little man children, that just don't feel like they can kind of come at something from a mature way, but I genuinely can't.
Very mature. Yeah. What about Mario and Peach?
Yeah, but that's just kind of, they're like icons. It's lovely. Like, I love them, power couple, but it's not really that romantic. Do you have one, Kev? You came up to the question. Do you have anything in mind?
Yeah, I don't really. That's kind of why I was asking. It's genuine interest.
I feel like we're going to be done recording and I'm going to go, what about this?
Yeah.
These characters in this?
Because like romance, like novels, it's the biggest genre there is. Romantic movies are massive. What is there? Am I going to? I say it. Is it because? And this is either true or not true, or game developers have thought this, that they presume that video games are a male-orientated domain.
Which demonstrably isn't.
Yeah, exactly. But has that been the thinking maybe for so long? Or they presume...
Yeah.
Definitely go back a few years, go back a decade, and the developers definitely thought they were selling games to men and boys. Yeah. It's like 50-50.
Like using the Steam example again of,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of a hangover from that sort of thinking. Because obviously there's like... The people playing games nowadays is way more diverse than it's ever been. And the people making games is way more diverse than it's ever been. But we're not seeing that diversity reflected in the type of games that are getting. And I'm sure it's like economic concerns play into it, that they have to make something that they know will sell. No publisher is going to pick it up if they don't think it's going to make money. But yeah, I think just like a straight up romance game would make money.
I was joking at first when you were calling things sexy, but I love the Final Fantasy games are very romantic. I think that's my call, Kev.
Yeah.
Especially 7 to 10. 7 is a tragedy. Cloud and Aerith is like tragic. She dies. But I think Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 10 are almost like the two main genres they are, fantasy and romance, I'd say. They're very much about Squall and Renoa, about Zidane and Dagger, and about Tidus and Yuna.
Done well, you think?
Yeah. I absolutely think. I think they're lovely. Actually, I've done it. those are my calls. Like Tidus and Yuna is a beautiful little story. Like whatever you think about that character and the ha 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 and how the voice acting is, like that's a cool story. Like he falls in love with her and then finds out she's going to die and doesn't want to lose her. I think they're very. I think RPGs in general always like have a JRPG. So I should say they always kind of tend to go for a good romantic subplot.
And I'm saying beside because do you say where we are? I'm gonna dox you on the podcast.
We're in my house.
Yeah.
We're in my home. Actually.
Air code W26. No, but we are like where we've all played video games in this place for ages. And there's a huge video game collection beside me. Yeah. What about this? The Sexy Brutal.
It's a good game.
Is it sexy?
No, it's not. It's a good game actually. It's kind of
It's right inside The Witcher.
You know what it's like, Kev? It's like that game you love, the time loop game, Death Loop.
Oh yeah.
People are being murdered in a nightclub casino place, and you have to go back in time a load of times to try to save everyone by learning the routines of everything.
I love that when you were like, it's like that game you love, the time loop one. I was like, is it Majora's Mask? No. Is it Outer Wilds? No. Death Loop. There we go.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those other massive examples. So yeah, I think the sexiest game ever is the Sexy Brutal, which I own because it has sexy in the title.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
remember I was on a Zoom chat over pandemic when we were like doing drinks over long distances, and one of my friends was like, "Liam, what's that game behind you? Like the Sexy Brutale?" Yeah, I remember that. Actually, do you know what? This is more embarrassing. I actually think I was drunk, wandering around showing people my games on my phone. I don't think she saw it in the background. Actually, there was a lot of that. A lot of that.
The pandemic did strange things to me.
Yeah, I think it made me my true self. Jonathan, final question for us to wrap this up.
Okay, well, I'll pick a really cliched one then. Okay, you guys are familiar with Desert Island Discs?
Yeah.
You sounded very disappointed when I said that.
You should explain it in case people aren't.
Oh,
we're nothing if not consummate professionals.
Yeah, basically, Desert Discs is the whole idea that you pick an album, you're stranded in a desert forever, or an island, let's say, and you can listen to one album forever. What is it? Blah blah blah. So basically, the version of that with a game, and like it's not really going to be your favorite game of all time, but if it's a game that you can constantly go back and repeat and play again and again and again, but also love, what's that game you're going to pick? And I will go to Liam first.
I think it's I think it's a Sexy Brutale. It's a boring answer for me, for anyone who knows me, but it's not my favorite Zelda, but I think it's Ocarina of Time. I think I get peace when I start playing that game again. I get in a good mood as soon as I hear the music and I'm in those spaces. I get that same with Majora's Mask. Whenever I play Majora's Mask and I'm in Clocktown and I can hear the dog barking and the music starting, I actually just go, I like this place more than a lot of places I visited in the real world.
That vibe again.
But despite the fact that Majora's is my favorite Zelda game, Ocarina is the one I'm choosing. I can play that game over and over and over again, and I play it every year. As a point, I play it about once a year.
Do you really mean that? Have you really played it once every year since 98?
One time, this is kind of a bit personal, but one time I was in a really bad mood. I was very sad over a girl. Stupid past stuff now. I'm strong, strong, and not single. But I was being a fucking sad sack and being all heartbroken. Upon reflection, it's all inwards. It's all do it to yourself. The girl has nothing to do with it. That's what happens in this podcast. You come for the games and you just I was really miserable, and I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to play Ocarina of Time and not stop till I finish it. And I played it for 17 and a half hours. Because I wasn't speedrun. I don't speedrun things. So was that
very cathartic though?
It was cathartic. I don't think it's healthy, but it was cathartic. It was cathartic, and it did it was almost like a buffer. It was like the sad thing happened, Zelda, and then the rest of my life.
Got a bit sadder at the end there. Yeah.
So great. I love Ocarina of Time. People say it's overrated. It fucking isn't. That's my summation.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that any sort of single player game, any sort of narrative based thing, no matter how good it is, if it's the only game you're playing, eventually
that was actually my point. Actually, I agree with him. Yeah, I actually do. Yeah. If you think about it kind of in a literal way, absolutely. Yeah.
So I would go with, and it probably is the game I've played the most, and it's Slay the Spire, because I have that on my PlayStation, I have it on my Switch, I have it on Steam, I have it on my phone. I've put in hundreds of hours into each one. The save files aren't connected, so every time I just start again, and I absolutely adore it. I think it is the pinnacle of that sort of card game design. It is so satisfying to play. It's so well crafted. Sort of the build craft is incredible. There's these sort of, once you've played through everything, you've seen everything, there are these daily climbs. They're sort of randomizers where you get a random deck of cards. You have to take these and see how you get on. And yeah, I pretty much play it every day anyway. So if it was the only game I was able to play, it would probably have to be that one.
You live in an island.
Yeah.
That's probably a better answer. You came at that from a different direction than I did. That's probably better, because what I would do is ruin one of my favorite games by playing it over and over again. Yeah, something would emerge into gameplay and different. That's damn.
Yeah, within a week you'd be sick of it.
I'd try to eat it. What's the rules of Desert Island in the show or the radio thing, whatever it used to be? What would you have means to survive? And they're but you can also it's music, right?
I
That
think
was,
the idea is like a Robinson Crusoe thing. You've managed to, establish some sort of life there, but you've got one of this.
I love your modern references to things like Desert Island, this Marcius. Like,
And Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, fuck off!
How about you?
I'd bring a book. No, I would surprise you. You might think I would say Football Manager,
Yeah, I would actually. Yeah.
which maybe I might actually. No, I would actually bring. I'm going to surprise you here. I'd bring Mario Odyssey
I like that.
because
Good answer.
999 moons or whatever.
Any,
Yeah.
if you're on an island.
I've got all the time in the world,
Yeah.
and it is. I think it's one of the most replayable video games ever created. I also think it's one of the best games ever made. And I usually feel very happy playing it. I don't know, is that because I kind of zone everything else out and just kind of forget about my woes and all the sadness in the world and the war and things like that.
Hey, you're stealing my thing. I bring the sad
Yeah,
stories.
you are, yeah. What am I then? Kev's the sexy one. You're the sad one. Yeah. I'm the old fashioned. Yeah,
No, yeah.
I'm the old from
The old man.
old man. Yeah.
Which one of us is cool but cruel?
That's on.
Oh, it is Owen. Yeah, that's definitely Owen. Yeah,
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, but I would say Mario Odyssey. Yeah, for sure.
That's a great show. I just replayed it like 3 days ago. Absolute masterpiece. It's probably. Do you know what struck me about it? About nothing else. Like there's 100 things struck me about it. I might be the most polished game ever made.
That's a great shot. Yeah,
Just in terms of everything, that just smooth it down to like the finest version.
No
of
filler.
it. No filler.
No filler.
It plays so well. It's probably that's a great one. But do you think it's the same problem with me though? Do you think Kev chose the best answer and you get sick of it after a while because you're on a desert island?
Yeah, you yeah.
I think you should change it and bring Football Manager because I think you could play that.
Well, I'm going to
forever.
edit this. I'm going to edit out Kev's answer, and I'm going to just record it myself. Really instead. Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on this slightly different episode. I haven't listened to this or edited it yet, so I'm just going to apologize for any audio issues. This isn't the norm. We were just all together and we just really wanted to record a thing. I hope you made it this far.
If this sees the light of day, I'll be amazed.
Because we don't have a studio, people. We're just in my room. I opened the window because it's warm. That's the kind of stuff we're dealing with here. But I thank you so much for listening. I was joined here by Kevin O'Carroll and Jonathan Morrissey. And check us out again. Bye, everyone.
Bye.